To start this evening, I'd like to take time on behalf of the board to acknowledge the loss of our beloved Superintendent, Noreen Bush, and to express support for the Bush family, all of Noreen's friends, and the Cedar Rapids Community School District. It's been a heavy week so far. We want to acknowledge that. But we also want to acknowledge that the loss feels so big and heavy because we were all so lucky to have Noreen in our life and as our leader. That is something to celebrate. Her presence in our lives is something to celebrate. So in that spirit, we will carry on like we know she would want us to. In her memory, it will be with us throughout it all.
Oh, God, that's tough.
A formal moment of silence will occur at a future board meeting. Thank you. Are there any board reports? Next, we will hear from those who have requested to address the board. Laurel, do we have any members of the public that have requested to address the board?
Yes, we do.
How many speakers have signed up for public comment?
We have 4 speakers this evening.
4. With 4 speakers this evening, each will be given up to 5 minutes for their remarks. Please respect the time limit allotted to each speaker. Board Secretary Day will serve as your timer and indicate when your time has expired. The time is yours to use and may not be yielded to another speaker. If you have submitted a request to address the board and choose not to speak in the interest of equity and fairness, your time may not be yielded to another speaker. In order to abide by the open meetings law, there will be no dialogue between board members and the public during this time except to clarify the nature of questions or comments from the individual speaking. We ask that the audience and speakers refrain from using inappropriate language and outbursts as a matter of respect for all in attendance. This board has 0 tolerance for profanity, vulgarity, demeaning language, or threats of any kind. Lastly, I'd like to remind our speakers that the board is unable to address personnel and student matters. There is a process outlined in board policy which provides guidance on how to address and resolve concerns. We ask that speakers refrain from using personal names and information during public comment. Before we begin, I'd like to remind our speakers to please state your name and address for the record when called to the podium. Laurel, please call our first speaker.
Our first speaker this evening is Bernard Clayton. He is here to speak about general issues in education.
I live at 1604 6th Avenue Southeast, and I wear my hat in solidarity with the St. Louis School District. First, I'd like to give condolences to the superintendent's family and her colleagues, and I was going to have a lot to say tonight, but I want to keep it very short. When I come and speak before the board, my intention is to bring intellectual diversity to the table, and I try to avoid being a ideologue. And I have one suggestion for the board tonight. I'm going to sit down. I believe that Superintendent Bush was our first female superintendent, and I think it would be appropriate to name this meeting space in honor of her. And I hope that y'all will give that serious consideration. I appreciate it and thank you.
Our next speaker is Brenda Jackson. Brenda is here to speak about Wilson Middle School volleyball incident. Oh, I'm sorry, is it not Brenda? I'm sorry, is it Brendan? Brandon, I'm sorry, Brandon.
Brandon Jackson, live at 1406 Top Court, Northeast. Addressing you as a parent. And today, in regards to the incident that occurred on the evening of Tuesday, October 11, 2022, between Miss Wilson Middle School 7th grade girls volleyball coach and the players. By addressing the board, my hopes are that all of you will look further into the incident that had taken place that night and really consider taking serious actions so that situations similar to this one would be avoided in the future. I do understand and acknowledge that teachers are trained yearly for de-escalations, but clearly in this case, it was a failed attempt. As a parent, I am very disappointed at multiple failed actions by school staff on this night. The parents and players feel let down by the staff and system that has been put in place to protect and make sure our kids are in a safe environment. For this to be the girls' first sport activity, it will be a memory that they will have forever. It is a very traumatizing experience for both the players and parents, and we hope our voices are taken seriously.
Our next speaker is Melissa Duffield, representing POV. Her topic is advocate.
My name is Melissa Duffield. I have spoken to this board before. I live here in Cedar Rapids. I'm here today once again as an advocate for children in our community with over 29 years experience working with kids. I shouldn't have to be here, but I will continue to be here until things in our local community change. Each year, kids reach out to me and my group of advocates for help, so we will continue to be voices for change, no matter how much people in the community try and attack us and silence us. There is a pattern in Cedar Rapids and Marion and a plague in our state and in our country for not putting children's safety and well-being first. There is a strong difference between acceptance and grooming, and it is rampant in our schools, and even a greater difference between those that are clearly here for the children and whom treat the children as being there for them. We have many issues in this district, and our voices of wrongdoing are going to get louder. Unfortunately for you, it is not a voice of one, because there are many issues. There are the voices of many in this district. This district continues to hire unqualified people who cause harm on purpose, ignoring and resenting the qualified ones who speak on children's behalf. And the question is why? Because we know the ugly? The reality is 30% of internet bandwidth is pornography. That's pretty disturbing. More people view child porn than who watch Netflix. Let that sink in. Human trafficking is the #1 crime in the USA over drugs. These are the facts, and because we are in Iowa, makes us no different. In the state of Iowa, with the Board of Education, there has been over 587 BOEE certified individuals that have had sexual contact or harassment with their students in the last 5.5 years. This doesn't count the individuals who got written up for selling drugs or showing up drunk to school. Do you think our districts are doing a good job of hiring teachers and coaches? Do parents know that you can have sexual misconduct with a minor and keep your certification? I could show you plethora of cases. We are fully aware of that number is only the ones actually written up, and it is worrisome on what the actual number is. The reality in Cedar Rapids, Marion is we've had multiple people go down for producing child porn. We had one last week. And the reality is that this ugly, no one wants to seem to address, including you all. Where is the education to children on online safety, complete third-party investigations to misconduct, and education on correct conduct of coaches and teachers for the kids and the parents, empowering them with knowledge, because knowledge is power. We have active sales of human trafficking in our area. Do you notify people to come forward when exposed to these people? This month, you've had a coach and her volunteers sexually harassing and physically assaulting predominantly minority athletes. This is ugly, and is this going to be stopped? Or is your investigator going to ask this group of girls if this is about playing time, ignoring the abuse? I've had that personal experience. You said to KCRG that children's safety is your #1 priority, but yet you withheld the teacher's name, saying that there was a rule for that. But did you advise KCRG to keep the faces of these minors off of the TV and their names? Because I've been a sports information director at the collegiate level, and I would have made that a priority if I wanted to make the statement that the children's safety is #1. Another documented abuser that I brought forward to this board was allowed to stay in the school district and just move to another school. And do you know what she did Tuesday night last week? She went and confronted minor athletes and started talking bad about other athletes in the team. If you want to know about that, you can come talk to me, just like I brought up the last time that I was in this building, a pedophile in our district. To this day, nothing has happened to him either. I'm sure you won't ask me to speak about that issue, and that's concerning to me. I know you don't like me. I get it. I, like many, are starting to see the ugly, and we will call you out every single time until the change actually happens in this district. If that includes you all getting removed, sued, or criminally charged, that is on you because you are responsible. I, with many, will stand here in memory of all the women and girls who are not strong enough to say girls deserve better. Girls deserve qualified coaches just as much as the boys do, and girls deserve to not be victim blamed. This is already happening in this current case that you guys are investigating. Children deserve better. That includes feeling safe in their schools from abusers and pedophiles and any sort of predator. They deserve a system that hears their voice, and they deserve to be surrounded by adults that actually have experience to make sure that these crimes aren't committed against them. And adults strong enough to admit when something is wrong, do something about it, and fix policy to rectify it. For those of you that are here today and those of you that are at home watching children, as a Board of Education certified woman and a USA Volleyball Safe Sport mandatory reporter, I take my role seriously. If you are a victim, please email me at mo@precision1volleyball.com. I will help any parent or child suffering, and to those of you that should be doing
Excuse
better,
me, Ms. Duffield, your time
we
is
won't
up.
stay
Thank you.
silent.
Our final speaker this evening is Lawrence Winklowski. Lawrence is here to talk about influence.
Lawrence Winklowski, 4234 Morel Road. When it comes to influence, I've been coming to these meetings, 2 or 3 years, and I've been trying to get some influence. But, it's just not, doesn't happen too often. But I want to go through and explain a few things that first of all, I expect. When I'm up here, I get the rules. I ask a question that can't be answered. And yet, however, I send an email, I expect an answer. And if I send an email, if you can't get to it, hey, respond. Keith Westerkamp always used to send me a response saying, got it, something that read it. And I think that's fine. I think you should also go ahead and spread the work around so it's not one person just going ahead and answering it. Also, I have to ask the question, why is our school district's meetings so different than everyone else's? The other neighboring communities, Iowa City and that. Then also, why, is there our policies, why are they somewhat different? For the most part, policies within school districts should be pretty much the same in our state. And that, especially since we have the Association of School Boards, which has this nice pamphlet to give out as guidelines for what's to go on. And I think about that, and I was having a brief conversation at last meeting, and it came up why. It's our legal counsel. I think we need to strongly consider getting a legal counsel in here that has a different perspective. Not one, I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong, and that, but maybe someone who interprets things a little differently. And it's sort of like, we've had them for so long, sometimes you need change. And that, like our Supreme Court, we needs to have change, and our legislators we need change in those places. One thing, what I expect from the school board is the following. When someone comes up to this podium, they don't walk away unless you people truly understand what they were talking about, whether you agree with it or not. That's written in our policies. That you can answer those questions. I also don't expect anybody to leave this podium without being corrected if they've passed poor or inaccurate information. And that I expect, the school board to challenge each other about topics, but then to go ahead and support the topic no matter how it's voted upon. So if you're talking about whether we're going to approve a new school or something like that, you may have different opinions, but whatever the outcome of that vote is, I expect the whole board to go ahead and back it. I think this, you know, we could do better. I'm not saying do better with spending more money or making it harder, but working together in it. And I think, you know, one of the things is I really think we need to at least strongly evaluate and look at why is our legal counsel so much different on, because they approve all of our policies, why are their policies we have differ from other school districts and that. So that's what, you know, I'd like to say. But anyway, but thank you very much.
Moving on to our consent agenda, please note that item BA-23-155 has been removed and will be rescheduled. Are there any items that a board member would like to pull for a comment, question, or separate vote? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote due to the personnel report.
Director Newman,
Aye.
Director Borcherding,
Aye.
Aye.
Director Roundtree,
Aye.
Director Humbles. Aye. Director Garland.
Aye.
President Tomitzky.
Aye. Next, we have a resolution on the Iowa Constitutional Amendment, Public Measure Number 1. I'll turn the meeting over to you, Cindy.
Yes, I'd just like to say a word about the resolution that we'll be voting on here momentarily. Public Measure Number 1 is a proposed Iowa constitutional amendment that's on the November 8th general election ballot. This amendment to the Constitution would tie the hands of state legislators to pass any sort of gun safety legislation in the future. There's a phrase in the amendment called strict scrutiny that makes it possible that existing laws, such as the prohibition of firearms on school grounds, might be struck down by the courts. So it is for this reason that it is our duty to provide the safest possible environment for our students and our staff. And so for this reason, I am asking that the resolution be passed as it stands. Thank you.
All those in favor of
Can I
approval?
make a comment real quick, President Tomitzky?
Sure.
I think it was recently with the county attorney and county sheriff as well, who also came out in opposition to this amendment. So we're not the only voice in the community taking this position if we approve this resolution. The one thing I wanted to say about following up with Vice President Garlock about strict scrutiny is not, you know, and one reason we want to pass this amendment is because that's not novel language being added to our state constitution being proposed to be added. It's just, and so I'm going to read here from Cornell Law School. They say strict scrutiny is a form of judicial review that courts use to determine the constitutionality of certain laws. And then later on, they say, notably, the Supreme Court has refused to endorse the application of strict scrutiny to gun regulations. And so this goes beyond the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It uses specific legal language to achieve a different result, and I would support this resolution passing.
Thank you. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The final item on tonight's agenda is for the board to approve the appointment of an interim superintendent. The board plans to proceed with the selection of Art Sathoff. Art is a recently retired superintendent, most recently in Indianola. He comes to us highly recommended from the retired executive director of the School Administrators of Iowa, Rourke Horn. Art is known for his compassion and care, And we believe he is precisely what this community will need as we mourn the loss of Superintendent Bush. Art has had many accomplishments in his career, which include leading his district to a successful bond vote with an 85% yes vote that truly helped bring the Indianola community together. Laurel, this is a roll call vote.
Director Newman,
Aye.
Director Borcherding,
Aye.
Director Merschbach,
No.
Director Roundtree,
Aye.
Director Humbles,
Aye.
Director Garlock,
Aye.
President Tominski.
Aye. With no further business, we stand adjourned.